Hello, and welcome to Roadmap to Medicaid. My name is Chris Cleary. I'm the Director of Professional Relations with Carrier Law, and I set up the educational series as well as our visiting experts. And so I want to welcome you here today. This presentation is going to be recorded. So if you don't get everything down, if you're taking notes, it will be on our website, probably by Friday at the latest, and you can always go back and look at it, share it with a friend. A lot of great information today. I want to thank everyone for answering the poll. It looks like, just gonna look at the results here. It looks like quite a few want to know more about Medicaid. And let's see. Confused about Medicaid? Yes, 64%. Completely understand that. It's a very challenging topic with a lot of ins and outs. For anyone who's been to our workshops, know that David always says that Medicaid is crazy. So we're with you there, and we can help you with that today. It's easy to fill out a Medicaid application. Actually, it's quite complicated. There's a 5-year audit of all the information, all the documentation that needs to get compiled. So depending on where your assets are, and Greg's going to go over that today, it can take quite a bit of time, particularly with life insurance policies. And then house is always protected. 36% said, yes, they can't take my home when I'm on Medicaid. That's a little bit of a trick question. Greg's going to go over that with you. In Michigan, we have a state recovery, and your house is protected while you're alive, but not necessarily after you pass, because it can recover from your estate the cost of long-term care. Again, welcome. Today, thank you for answering our poll questions, and I'd like to introduce our attorney, Greg VanDeusen. Oops, I'm going to switch.
Well, thank you, Chris, and let me just get Mike up here. So great. Like Chris said, thank you for answering the poll. That really helps me out, that helps Chris out, that helps the office out, trying to get a feel of where people are as far as their understanding of Medicaid. Before I begin, I want to give a big shout out to Chris. So although she puts on these educational series, she is our liaison between the nursing homes and us. What I mean by that is she has a great relationship with all the nursing homes in the area. And she is a vital resource if you're trying to place a loved one or have questions about this nursing home or that nursing home. Before I knew Chris, I was lost when I had to place my mom in skilled nursing care, okay? And you don't know what is what, you don't know who to believe. And my sole purpose was to protect my mom. Had I known that Chris existed and the resource and the tools that she brings to the table would have been just a godsend to me. So thanks for Chris for all the work that you do. In addition to that, Chris is a very giving person. The firm and Chris are very active with community programs such as the Alzheimer's Association and Meals on Wheels. And in my opinion, in this day and age, there's more people taking rather than giving. And I think if this world were like Chris, with more giving and less taking, it would be a much better place to live with. As you can see, there's a PowerPoint here, and we would be happy to send you the PowerPoint as well. I think it's a good overview of the Medicaid process and how we address Medicaid with our clients. The purpose of this meeting is to give you an overview of how we interact with our clients, how we interact with Medicaid, and getting our clients eligible for Medicaid. So if you think Medicaid is a charity, it is not a charity. And if you are of that mindset, you're probably wasting your time, okay? Medicaid is a government benefit that you and I and everybody that gets a paycheck has been paying for. I was throwing papers when I was 10, and I've been given into the system ever since I was 10. But when it comes to long-term care and Medicaid says, if you have too much stuff, what I mean by that is if you have more than $2,000 in your back pocket, you don't qualify for Medicaid. And what Medicaid tells you to do is like, they tell you to spend everything down. They say, thanks for doing a great job, Greg. Mom and dad are very proud of you. You worked hard all of your life. you saved, you created a nest egg for your family, you invested in real estate, retirement benefits. Thank you very much. You did a good job. By the way, before you get a benefit that you've been paying for, we want you to go broke. To us, that's not fair. So what our theory is that we just try to balance the scales a little bit. You probably have noticed the three elephants in the room. And these are the three elephants that people just do not talk about. A lot of attorneys don't talk about the three elephants, doctors, clergy. The three elephants is if you don't plan, you're going to go broke, okay? Right now, skilled nursing care is running about $12,000 a month. And I'll go head to tail with anybody out there that the working middle class, we are the driving force behind this economy. And when it comes to the government, nobody hears the middle class. Everybody hears the rich and everybody hears the poor. I'm not passing judgment on either group, but it's just the way it is, all right? So when the government acts, they come after the middle class because we have the weakest voice. And I'll put money on it. If you're paying $12,000 a month, all right, you're going to be in the poorhouse real quick. So we're going to take this thing off and say, hey, this is no longer going broke. You're going to preserve what you worked for all of your life. This is the Medicaid elephant. This is what I'm going to be spending a lot of time on today. The Medicaid elephant, some people view this as charity. It is not charity, okay? This is a benefit that you've paid for. This is America's answer to long-term care. Medicare is America's answer to health insurance. Social Security retirement is the answer to the government's answer to retirement. Medicaid is the government's answer to long-term care. So we're going to take this thing off. We're going to say this elephant right here, this is a benefit that we work for, okay? And we just want a little payback at the end of the day. This elephant right here is that the kids aren't going to go broke. If you have planned, if you receive Medicaid, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be stuff left over for the children, okay? But today I'm not focused about the children, and I'm not focused really about this guy here, but to some extent I am. Medicaid. Now, when you look at my PowerPoint, it's going to resemble, I guess, the theory is driving a car, okay? So when we drive a car and we go on a trip, we always plan for the trip. And the first thing that we usually do is we pull out the road map. I can remember back in the day when I was on the family vacation, my dad was behind the wheel and he would yank that thing out of the glove box and he would be driving, trying to figure out where he's going, all right? Crazy. We don't want you to do that while you're driving, all right? But we want you to be familiar with the road map. So I'm going to talk about nursing home care, and I'm going to a lot and what we can do to preserve what you've worked for. But I want to make clear to everybody out there, when I'm talking about nursing home care, I am not talking about this person, okay? This is the person that works at the nursing home. This is the nursing home. I love these people. These people are in my top 10 list, okay? They are busting their can every day, taking care of our loved ones, okay? So when I talk about the nursing home, I'm not talking about the nursing home. What I am talking about is this guy here. Can anybody guess what this guy is? Okay, if you can read, it's Bill the Dragon, okay? I'm worried about this guy here. I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy showing up on my doorstep. And again, this guy's knocking on my door with a $12,000 bill. All right, I understand these folks got to get paid, and I want to make sure they get paid, all right? We're taking care of my loved one and your loved one, but I want the government to help out with that because I've paid into that benefit. So there's a number of ways that you can end up in skilled nursing care. The 3 most common ones that we see is that there's folks out there that are taking care of their spouse, okay? Day in and day out, 24/7, they're taking care of their spouse. Eventually, things are going to come to a head and the spouse is going to realize that it's not in the best interest for anybody for that type of relationship. And the spouse that they're caring for might be better off being cared for by a nursing home and skilled nursing care. And then it's providing me, the spouse that was providing the care, with some respite. So there's a point, a crossroads where we come when we're caring for our spouse, where we start thinking about this. The other way that we see people end up in skilled nursing care is that somebody may be living independently. And I'm going to call this person living independently Jan. And Jan actually was my mom, okay? So when she was living independently, everything was good. She had some struggles, but she was able to drive and take care of herself. Well, one day she fell and she broke her hip. And the process is is that when you have an injury, you go to the hospital. And at the hospital, they performed hip surgery on my mom, and it could be any type of surgery, all right? Once that is taken care of, then they will place the person into rehab to rebuild the strength and their walking ability or whatever that they need to work on. But there's going to be a time in the rehab facility where they're saying, hey, continue rehab because you're moving up, or rehab has got to stop because you've plateaued or you've gone downhill. And when that happens, they make an assessment of whether or not you can go home and live independently. And if they say it's not safe for you to go and live independently, then it's a mad dash, a scramble to figure out what's going to happen to mom, Jan. Because we're at the midnight hour and they're saying that Jan's got to leave, but she can't go home. So we have to figure out where Jan is going to go, right? The third way that people end up in a situation where they're dealing with bill is that they may start out in skilled nursing care, okay? And they're paying the private pay, the $12,000 a month, month in, month out. But what happens is eventually that money's going to run out. And when that money runs out, then the nursing home is going to look at what other paying sources out there. And that's when Medicaid comes into the picture. So with the next slide, you can see the photo of the hand and the money. Essentially, this is Bill. Bill's coming in and taking that $12,000 a month, okay? So as indicated, I want to talk to you about Medicaid in the format of a story. So going back to my mom, Jan, who was living independently, fell at home, broke her hip. Actually, the maintenance person found her on the floor like 8 hours after she had fallen. And she ended up going to the hospital. She had hip surgery. When the surgery was done, they sent her to rehab. She was at rehab for a couple weeks. And then what rehab said to me is that your mom is not doing well. She is progressing downwards. And by the way, we can't keep her here, but she can't go home. So I was left with the decision of, do I take mom in and care for her myself? Or do I find a living situation where she can be cared for and I can do my responsibility as the son and making sure she's being taken care of, okay? This is the opportunity that I wish I missed because I didn't know Chris Cleary, because at this point I would have reached out to Chris Cleary and asked her for some guidance. And that's the service that we offer to our clients, is not only do we do the estate planning documents, we help people out with getting them qualified for Medicaid, but we have Chris as our liaison that can work with the family and find the right place for mom or dad to make sure they are taken care of. So when I started looking around for skilled nursing care facilities, I was shocked of the cost it's going to cost. All right. It blew me away. And the first thing that came to my mind is that my mom didn't work her tail end all of her life to be paying the nursing home. Because I started sweating it about what am I going to need to sell to make sure mom is taken care of. And then you hear these stories about Medicaid. And so what I should have done at the very beginning is I should have called David Carrier. And the process with David Carrier's office is this, is that if I would have made that initial call, they would have scheduled an appointment for me to meet with Ardeen Martin, who's a Medicaid paralegal. And we would have conducted what is referred to as a discovery meeting. The discovery meeting is essentially an opportunity for one of the paralegals to just get the facts, all right? We want to know the situation. Why is the call being made? What's going on with mom or dad or husband or wife? We want to find out what assets mom or dad or husband or wife have. We want to find out what estate planning documents they have in place. Because if they don't have estate planning documents or if they're not well drafted, you may end up in probate court. Our whole thinking here at the office is that we want to avoid probate court as much as possible. But there are some estate planning documents out there that we see people ending up in probate court when they thought they weren't going to be. Yeah. You have to remember that the discovery meeting is free of charge. Okay, so you can call, you can speak with our dean, she'll gather the facts, find out what the family dynamics are, find out what the assets are, find out what mom and dad's income is, because these are all factors that Medicaid will take into consideration when they assess Medicaid eligibility. So once our dean is done talking to you, the next process is that the office will schedule you an appointment in person with David Carrier or me. Remember, the engagement appointment with David Carrier or me is always free. And what we want to do is we want to sit down with you or the family, and we want to assess the situation based on the facts that our dean collected and the facts that you may have to offer at the engagement. Before we even sit down with the family, though, that we already have a good idea of what's going on. And David and I and the Medicaid team have gotten together and we have formulated a plan, a strategy for Medicaid eligibility. So when you meet with me or David in person, we will talk to you about that strategy. And David will make promises to you that he will live up to. Okay. Our goal is to save as much as we can and get a benefit, a government benefit that mom or dad or husband or wife have paid for all of their life. I mean, does it seem unreasonable to save what you work for and to get a government benefit at the same time? The answer for everybody out there should be no, that doesn't seem unreasonable. But let me ask you this, do you think it's going to be easy to get a government benefit and protect what you've worked for all of your life? The answer should be no. Look I'm trying to do my taxes right now. Or last week, I was trying to give the government money, and that wasn't easy. Think what it is asking the government for money. Okay. So after the engagement appointment, the family, husband or wife, will make a decision whether or not they want to hire David in the office here to implement the strategy that we have come up with. If the family, so in my situation, if I had taken advantage of this, I would have hired David to get my mom qualified for Medicaid, to preserve what she had worked for all of her life and get a benefit that she had worked for all of her life for. And so if I would have hired David and the team, the next appointment would have been what we call an implementation meeting. At the implementation meeting, what you will do is meet with a paralegal and the attorney, and we will start implementing that plan. And you're going to be meeting with the paralegal or the attorney or both multiple times, okay? Now, going back to the roadmap analogy, remember taking the trip with mom and dad, and somebody's always in the back seat saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Right? It's the same thing. People, our clients, want this to happen like yesterday. But because of the process that's involved and the meticulous work that has to be done, we can't get there yesterday. We have to implement the plan, deal with all the banks, all the retirement and plan administrators and family dynamics. Where I'm going with that is that we stress patience. We will get the job done. But again, there's a lot of stress going on with the family and they want things done yesterday. Our Medicaid team includes, and there's a slide with our paralegals on there, includes me and David, actually the whole office, but then we have a team of paralegals that are working side by side with you. And if you retain our services, you're going to have a paralegal that's going to be working side by side with you. I can probably guarantee you that you're going to hate the paralegal because the paralegal is going to be calling you all the time for information. All right. But it's just part of the process. Once you're approved for Medicaid, you're going to love the paralegal, and you're going to love the paralegal's work and David's work and my work and getting the job done. When it comes to the attorney fee, we're very upfront, we're very straightforward, and David will tell you that there's no hidden costs. We work on a fixed fee basis, okay? What that means is you know what the price is going in and you know what the price is going to go out. Most law firms, how they operate is you have no idea what the price is going to be at the end of the day. because they lead you on this rosy path that it'll be next week that I'll be able to tell you. But at the end of the day, eventually you'll get the bill. The Medicaid application. The Medicaid application in itself is about 8 pages. But when we submit a Medicaid application, our medication application consists of the 8 pages and probably roughly between 100 and 200 other pages that go along with the Medicaid application. We know what Medicaid is going to be looking for. We know what information they want, and we do not want delay. Because if your application is being delayed, that means mom or dad or husband or wife are in a private pay status. So we are looking for everything that Medicaid will eventually look for. And when I say Medicaid, what I'm referring to is the Department of Health and Human Services. So Medicaid is a government benefit, all right? But each state runs its own Medicaid program. And the state of Michigan is the Department of Health and Human Services, okay? So, and actually we have staff that have worked with the Department of Health and Human Services. Now they're working with us. So we know exactly what they're looking for. We know what exactly the information that they're going to be asking. And we give that to them before they even ask the question. Once you've gone through all the implementation planning and the attorney pushes the button for Medicaid eligibility, bam, you're eligible for Medicaid. What does that mean for you? Well, that means that I get a Medicaid benefit that I've worked for and I've paid for all my life. And I get to preserve my stuff that I worked for all my life. And by the way, I can use the stuff that I worked for all my life to give me bells and whistles if I go into a skilled nursing care facility. Okay. Again, remember, we don't like this guy. Here at the office, we don't like Bill the Dragon. We love these folks, people that work at the skilled nursing care facility. Why? Because they're taking care of our loved ones. And guess what? They're getting paid. Why are they getting paid? Because we've done the work and we're making sure that they are getting the benefits that they're entitled to. When you go through the implementation process, the first meeting is that when you meet with the paralegal and the attorney, they're going to ask you for a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. The top 10 documents that we need from you is listed on my slide presentation. We're going to need the driver's license. We're going to need the birth certificates. We're going to need any marriage certificates. We're going to need your tax records. We're going to need titles of motor vehicles. We're going to need the deeds to the property. We're going to need your IRA statements. We're going to need your bank statements. We're going to need your annuity statements. This is all stuff that Medicaid will need at the end of the day. All right. So we are preparing that they are going to ask us for that, and we have it there for them when they ask for it. So you, as the client, have to help us with gathering the information. This is a team approach that we have with our clients, okay? Yes, we do the heavy lifting, but we do require some assistance from our clients to provide us with this information. And when we ask for the information, I don't want to know what existed a year ago or 5 months ago. I want to know what exists this month. I want to know the bank statement. I want to know what the retirement benefits are this month, okay? That is what Medicaid is searching for. Okay, doing it yourself. I call it the DIY, doing it yourself. Wrong. Anybody can complete an 8-page application. No question, I am not arguing with that. But when it comes to giving DHHS the information that you need, people drop the ball. We see people that fill out these applications that don't disclose everything to DHHS. Why don't they disclose it? Well, they were talking to Sally at church, and Sally at church says, well, you don't have to show them that. They were talking to Bill at the country club. Bill says, don't worry about it. You gave it to your kids a month ago. No problem. Okay. We see this happen day in and day out with people that try to do it themselves. The biggest problem that we see is that somebody will rely on somebody else to get the job done without knowing where that information is coming from.
And when they rely on somebody else, they fill out the application. And when it gets denied, they tell DHS, well, Johnny said it was okay to do it. DHS could care less about that, okay? And in fact, DHS can come after you. Not only can they deny you, but if they feel there was some criminal intent in there, it's actually a felony to misrepresent information on the application. Where we see this rooster come to light is that when mom and dad die and they go through probate court, the probate court notifies the state of Michigan DHHS that there's been a death. And DHHS is looking at their file, seeing if this person was on Medicaid. And if this person was on Medicaid, they're looking at what was in the estate, what's going to the heirs. Okay, that's where we see DHHS really making their grab for the money. So when you're doing these applications, you cannot rely on somebody telling you it's just an 8-page application. Don't worry about it. Billy Joe's getting it. Billy Joe is in a lot better place than you are financially, and she's getting it. Okay, they're not giving you the whole story. One of the other ramifications we see when people do this themselves is it's delay. Because if Medicaid denies your application, they just send you a nice, friendly 2-paragraph letter saying that your application is denied. You do not know why they denied it, and they won't tell you why they denied it. And so what has to happen is that you have to refile a new application again. Well, what's going on there? It's called delay. While that application has been reviewed and reviewed and reviewed, mom or dad, husband or wife are in a private pay status. So the goal is to do it right the first time and give DHS all the information that they need, because at the end of the day, I want the stamp of approved. I don't want to be dealing with a denial. Spend down. If you know anything about Medicaid, or if you heard anything about Medicaid, you've heard that fancy word spend down. Fancy word, okay? It is sugarcoating what's going on. Spend down means going broke. You become eligible for Medicaid if you have more than $2,000 in assets, or if you're a married couple, if you have more than $3,000 in assets, Medicaid is going to tell you to spend that stuff down before you become eligible. What Medicaid is really telling you is they're saying, go spend everything until you're broke. And then when you're broke, come see us. So if you ever hear people talk about spend down, that's what they are telling you. And people don't recognize the sugarcoating on that word. Is your house really protected? That is a tricky question. So in the state of Michigan, Michigan is one only of a handful of states that if you live in a house and it's your homestead, and if it's under $699,000, the state of Michigan, Department of Health and Human Services could care less about the house. It's exempt. Great. What that means is Medicaid can't tell you to sell the house. Great. But the whole story is this. First of all, when you pass away, if that house goes through probate court, remember the state of Michigan, the state recovery? The state of Michigan is going to come in and they have a super lien, all right? And before anybody gets anything, they're going to force the house to be sold to be reimbursed for what Medicaid paid them. Now, Michigan is only one of a handful of states that does this, and that's a good thing, because in most states in the union, if you go on Medicaid, they put a lien on that house automatically. Automatically. By the way, back in 2008, the state of Michigan started talking about that. All right. So the state of Michigan, they know about what other states are doing, and they know that's bringing money in the coffers. And as we sit here and talk today, the state of Michigan has not gone down that path. And I say to the state of Michigan, stay off that path. Well, what concerns me and what should concern you is that it only takes a couple of people in Lansing to talk about this thing again, okay? And it only takes a couple of them to get back on the path. The other problem we see with the house is, say that either a single spouse goes into skilled nursing care or both parents go into skilled nursing care and the house is vacant. Well, who's paying the property tax on that? Who's paying the property insurance on that? Who's shoveling the snow? Who's taking care of the lawn? And what we have seen is that when mom or dad go into skilled nursing care, the kids, not thinking and not knowing, sell the house. So what has really happened is they've taken an exempt piece of property, say $500,000, and they converted that $500,000 house to $5,000 in cash. Well, what does mom and dad have now? They have $5,000 or $500,000 in cash. And who's going to put their hand in that? Remember, under $2,000 in assets, I got a $500,000 cash account. What's going on? What's going to happen? Spend down. Spend the $500,000 on the nursing home, and then you can get back on the program. So when you hear folks and attorneys talk about the house is protected, don't worry about it. Have a nice day. They are not telling you the whole story. Either they don't know the whole story, or they're avoiding the whole story and putting a sheet over it. In either case, it's not good for you, because now I got a house that could be subject to spend down. The good news is that with proper planning, you can protect that. Now, I'm not even talking about the cottage and the hunting property up north or the farm. Folks, that is free game. That is not a homestead. Okay, that is on the chopping block. Again, without proper planning, Medicaid is going to be dipping into that. They're going to be looking at that. And by the way, a lot of people think, well, they'll never find it. They don't know what's out there. That is totally wrong, okay? DHHS has what is referred to as an asset detection unit. That's all they do day in and day out, is they track stuff. And the biggest kicker is that you may not disclose it and they may not know it for the first year, but when you file your tax return, the IRS is going to send that nice little letter to the state of Michigan. And that's where the state of Michigan really starts eyeballing everything. So if you go, again, if you go, just to recap, if you go in with the slides, if you go into skilled nursing care and the house is sold and it's cash, goodbye house. Say you're in private pay and the only thing is you have the house. Well, and if you stop paying the nursing home, guess what? The nursing home is going to knock on the attorney that lives in the high glass tower, downtown Grand Rapids or downtown Detroit. And that attorney is coming after that house. And you're going to say, look, you can't come after the house. It's exempt. Time out. And the attorney is going to say, well, you're not on Medicaid, so it's not exempt. That's fair game. I buy house. Remember I talked about the delay in the application being processed and, private pay status. If that private pay amount is not being made, this guy is going to be knocking on the attorney's door in the high glass tower. We talked about the state of Michigan. If they do change their current law, which is called state recovery, buy house. If you have not planned for that and the state of Michigan changes its tune, and there's no word in Lansing, we keep our ear very close to the wall, what's going on in Lansing. And I'm not trying to scare you. There's no chitter chatter about it. Great. Awesome. But I wake up at night worrying about this thing, right? That's how I'm wired, because that's where I've put most of my money that I've worked for into my house. And the last thing that I want that house to do is go to the state. But if Michigan does change its tune and they go after the house and you have not planned, buy house. I talked about the cottage and the farm, hunting property. That's not homestead. Buy real estate. So going back to Jan and my mom, who was my mom, all right. She should have knocked on David Carrier's door. She should have had the discovery meeting for David Carrier and Arlene to find out what is out there. She should have met with David and the team to figure out what the strategy is. She should have met with the Medicaid team and implemented the strategy. Okay. But the reason that she didn't do it is because I didn't know anything about this. I just thought Medicaid was going to jump in if my mom went into skilled nursing care. And that is not the case. So what I encourage you to do out there is that I encourage you to give us a call, and it's free to come in and talk to me or David or one of the other attorneys about what I can do to plan for this guy with my intent to have this person take care of me. I'm going to open up to any questions if there's any questions out there, but I just want to, again, and we're recording this, I want to repeat, because I know there's somebody out there that's going to say, oh, you're saying the nursing home is a bad place. I am not saying that. Those are good folks that bust their can every day taking care of our loved ones. This is the nursing home. They are good folks. They do the best with what they have. But I don't want this guy knocking on my door. And I know I'm going to get a letter from somebody saying that you're telling me the nursing home is bad. And I'm going to say, look, I recorded this and I went through this 4 or 5 different times. But sometimes we hear what we want to hear and we ignore what we don't want to hear. All right. Sometimes we do that. It's a human defense, I think. But you have to take the sheet off of the elephant and you have to have candid conversations about this stuff. And I tell you, if I die in my sleep next to my wife, I call that winning. I have just won the game. Send me out with a big gold star. But I cannot anticipate that. I cannot plan for that because statistics show that if I'm 65 or older, there's a 70% chance that I'm going to need long-term care. 70%. I do not like those odds. You should not like those odds. And you and I have to take steps to prepare for the worst. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. All right. So when we're driving down this Medicaid, on the Medicaid roadmap, we are going from point A to point B. I'm not going to go into a dead end. I'm not going to go off the cliff. I'm going to get to point A to point B. And I'm going to be very, very happy when I get to point B. I'm going to open it up for discussion. If there's any questions, I would love to hear from you. Yeah, so we have a couple of questions coming in, great. And what's going to happen is that Chris Cleary, who is in the room here today, she's going to throw the question at me. I'm going to repeat it and then I'll answer it. Sure. So the question is that first meeting, the discovery meeting, when you meet with the paralegal, Medicaid paralegal, the question is, how long is that meeting going to be? What can I expect at that meeting? So the answer to that question is, will take as long as you need. There is no time limit on it, okay? What you can expect at the meeting, and this is a phone conference, is that you can expect questions as to what estate planning documents exist, what mom or dad or husband or wife have an income. Income could be Social Security, retirement, it could be pension, it could be the combination. We're going to ask questions about what the assets are, what real estate is owned, what retirement accounts exist, what bank accounts exist, what annuities exist. We're going to ask about the family. We're going to ask about the loved one that you're calling on behalf of. We have to know what's going on. And so again, we will take as long as we need to get that information. And again, did I say it's free? No, I'm Dutch. My last name is VanDeusen, okay? I can squeeze the copper off of a penny if I can. My dad always said to me, hey, if it's free, take 3, right? It's free, no obligation. If you don't like what you hear when we talk to you, no problem. But if you like what we hear, and you like what we offer, we're going to sit down and talk to you again for free. And that's going to be with David or with me. And at that meeting, we'll get into the weeds, the meat and potatoes of what's going on. And we're going to formulate a strategy. And as indicated before we even walk through that door, we already have an idea about the strategy because we've taken time to look at the picture of what's going on. Now, obviously, that strategy may change as we meet with you and we talk to you what you want, but we are already running with the ball. Oh, we got another question. Great. Yes. So the question is, this is kind of similar with my situation. Okay. Mom is in her 80s. We got a child calling or asking the question, hey, mom's in her 80s. I'm trying to plan for the future. I don't know what the future is going to be. What does mom need as far as estate planning documents? What needs to be in place? And if there's nothing in place, is there something that mom can do about putting something in place? Okay. So everybody on this call should have estate planning documents in place. Okay. And if you don't, you should get on that. The question becomes whether mom, who is in her 80s, is competent or not. If a client is competent, they can make those types of decisions. They can implement estate planning documents. If they are not competent and they don't have any estate planning documents in place, what that means for me is I'm going to take the family to probate court. And I'm going to have the judge appoint somebody that can take care of mom making financial decisions. I'm going to have the judge appoint somebody that can take care of mom making medical decisions. So the line in the sand on that question is mom competent or is mom not competent? If mom is competent, great, get her in. We need to get those documents in place right away. If she's not competent, then there's another recourse, no problem. We just have to go to probate court. Personally, I don't like going to probate court. Sometimes it could be our friends, great. But personally, when I go to probate court, I lose control. Because who has control in court? It's the lady or the guy that has the robe and hits the gavel, right? They are in control, not me. Oh, got another question. So the question is, the loved one is in rehab right now. The family has gotten notice that rehab is going to be ending. The loved one can't go home, safety issues. Can David Care in the office help? And the answer to that question is yes. And we see that quite a bit because when you're in the hospital, that's for acute care. And eventually the hospital is going to say, we've done as much as we can for you with that surgery on that hip or what have you. And then they're going to move you to another place. I kind of call it, this is sad to say, but passing the hot potato. Now it's the nurse, now it goes to the rehab facility. Now the rehab facility is saying, well, mom or dad or loved one is not doing what they should be doing for whatever reason. They're declining. We can't provide any more services. Sorry. By the way, find a place for mom or dad or your loved one. Okay, that's when everybody's blood pressure goes up. Everybody's doing the midnight shuffle. Everybody's freaking out about what the next step is. Okay, so we can help with that, and we call those crisis calls, and we have those calls come in, I would say daily. All right. So there's things we can do in the midnight hour to take care of business, but it can be done. Okay, so I think that that's all the questions for today that I have. If you have any other questions for me, feel free to reach out to me. My name's Greg VanDeusen. I'll talk to you for free. David says we'll talk your head off for free. If you have any questions, get a hold of us. If you want to meet with us in person, give us a call. We'd be happy to sit down with you. We'll lay it out for you, and then you can make the decision. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day. Enjoy the nice weather that's out there. And Oh, we have one more question, I think. Okay, so we're going to do it. We're launching a poll. Please stay on. Answer the poll. This is really good feedback for me and for the office and for Chris. Hopefully you found this educational, helpful. I hope you understand about the elephant in the room, and Medicaid is not charity. It's a benefit we've been paying for all of our life. My last comment, closing comment, is that, like I said, we live in a crazy world right now. There's more taking, less giving. I ask you to give a little bit more, take a little bit less. The world will be a much happier place if we all can do that. Thanks. Have a great day.